Okay, here I'm going to show the blade angle tester, a false error you get due to a burr. Blade angle tester has a device with a magnet that goes and sits on the edge of the blade. And the reference piece that goes on here goes through and touches to the side like this over here. That's a right angle piece. And every single maker makes these things now. Every skate sharpener's got these typically. What can happen is if you don't take off the side burr on here, you have a poor reference surface and you'll have a false error. Okay. If we go over here and exaggerate this, the part that's touching on the blade here should be to where this is exactly touching with no uplift due to the burr. With the burr, the reference scale tilts over and you have an indicated error. So when you're sharpening skates, what you need to do is knock the burr off so you don't have a bad reference. It'll show you've got an angular error when there's not. Now ideally, when you sharpen skates, you got the two edges equal height, and that means it's 90 degrees, like on here. And of course, if it left edge is high, it's going to be like this. Right edge is high, it's going to be like that. With the burr, if you put the old penny on the blade, if this was a giant penny you put on here like in the old days, that was kind of a gross indication to see if it's aligned up. Today, that's kind of too small a device. A lot of people use these magnetic blade angle testers that have a real long baseline, and then they grab the side. And so when you're sharpening skates, you have to be aware that a lot of times it will not bear up against this edge here. Actually be tilted up on the reference surface for the blade angle device. So you need to go through and take a stone and knock the edge off here a little bit. Kiss the edge of this to make sure there's no lifted edge up on here. And then the reference surface of the blade angle device will read correctly. That can be kind of hard to do because sometimes you got to, in the fixture, if you want to check it in the skate sharpening machine, a lot of times you need to make sure there's not an uplifted edge and just lightly kiss this edge off. Now, if you've got a black coated blade like a step steel here like this, you're not supposed to run a regular stone across here because this has got a plated surface, coated surface for less friction, kind of like the Miracle Pots and Pans product. This is a black steel by Step. This is a black edge, another brand. Then if you have old skates that have a carbon steel blade, these have got chrome on them. If you wail on this, you'll have an area where it'll rust. Like this is a more modern runner that's stainless, so it doesn't really matter if you go side hose on this. But I just wanted to point that out. This particular one here is just one. I've got 2-3 different brands of these. So when this goes on here like this, you need to make sure that it doesn't get uplifted and be tilted up. Now the instructions for the black tester from SSM2 skate sharpeners mentions taking off the burr, and some of the other brands really kind of don't allude to that. And so what happens is you'll be exaggerated, the reference surface is tilted over, you'll put this on here and you'll think it's like this, and then you go ahead and adjust the skate sharpener thinking you have an error when you really don't have an error. So with the burr on here like this, you're going to get an indication like it's bad and adjust the skate sharpener in a conventional one that's not self-centering, and to try to create this condition. But with the burr, it can actually be good, but it's going to read wrong on the blade angle tester. It doesn't matter what brand it is. Now these are all, I'm showing here, these are hockey skates. If you take a pair of figure skates here, here's Coronation Ace. It's got a carbon steel blade. This has got a chrome relief here. it's got a neck, it's actually got a bevel on here. You don't tend to have this type of problem with this because the burr is not going to, this is a flat reference surface on this medium grade skate here. Figure skates, of course, thicker. You got to be careful on figure skates. This is a gold seal here. And the gold seal here has actually got, this is actually concave through here. This is actually, on this particular one, the blade is actually like this. There's a cross section through here. So you can't really use a blade angle tester on this, a conventional one, because this is concave through here. You can tell because there's weird reflections on here. So if you put a reference device on here, you have to question where actually is it referenced to. A lot of times, like on the ice edger, you end up using a precision square like this, which is even better, and you have to look through the gap on here. And you have some other types of blades, like this is a Paramount pattern 99, where you've got aluminum with the stainless. This is 420 stainless through here. They really don't have a very good reference surface for a blade angle device that's the magnetic type, because you've got this aluminum piece. So you can use a long piece like this to get a reference on here. What you want is a very long length of an arm so you can detect an error easily. I think the ones from Paramount have a very long device here. On this, the grippable surfaces for skate sharpening are here, so you can go through and use this surface, I believe, through here. But it's a little bit tricky on a figure skate. Most figure skates are like this. This is flat on the side. This is a more lighter, more modern competitive blade. Composite blade, aluminum. But when you use like the coated steel again on here, you're not supposed to go ahead and run a regular conventional stone, because you'll wipe this off. Like this thing here from Sparks has got a piece of leather. You can kind of just knock that off. I think on eBay there's a guy that sells these wooden pieces you can use to knock off the edge. But I just noticed on the instructions from the bat tester from SSM2 from Sweden mentioned about this burr, and so that's why reason I decided to do this video, because I saw somebody a few weeks ago using a bat tester, and I had measured it to be good after I did a pair of skates, and he did one that was the same blade thickness and had this error like this, and was going to go ahead and adjust the height on the conventional, the Z height for the blade holder, skate holder, whatever. And so what he was doing is he was putting on a bat gauge, pretty good one, it's a different brand, and then he was going through and getting this error because he wasn't knocking the burr off. Sometimes you can get a pretty big burr. All depends on the type of steel and whatever. So if you get a big burr, the reference surface gets bowled over, and then the little telltale gauge is tilted over like this. Get 'em. Get 'em.